Listen and do not scroll, because what you're about to hear is not just another message passing through your day. This is not background noise. This is not something you come back to later. No, this is the moment everything either shifts for you or slips further away. And you already feel it, don't you? That strange tension in your chest. That quiet voice whispering, "Pay attention." That unexplainable pull that made you stop here instead of moving on. That is not random. That is not coincidence. That is divine interruption. There was something else you were about to watch. Something easier. Something lighter. Something that wouldn't demand anything from you. But instead you landed here. And now you're being faced with something heavier. Something urgent. Something that feels like it's looking directly at you. Not the surface you, but the deeper you, the one you don't show anyone. Because here's the truth most people won't say out loud. You've been feeling behind. Not just in life, but in something deeper. Something spiritual. Something internal. Like time has been moving, but you haven't been moving with it. Like opportunities passed quietly. Like moments came and you hesitated. And now there's this quiet pressure building inside you that says, "I should be further than this." And you've tried to ignore it. You told yourself you were just tired. You told yourself you needed more time. You told yourself things would work out eventually. But what if I told you this isn't about eventually anymore? What if I told you you are already late? Not late in a way that condemns you. Not late in a way that disqualifies you. But late in a way that demands urgency. Because there was a moment, recently, where you were supposed to act. A decision you delayed. A step you avoided. A voice inside you said, "Do it now," and you said later. And that later hath been echoing ever since. Archangel Michael steps forward in this moment. Not softly, not symbolically, but with authority that cuts through confusion. And his presence doesn't feel gentle right now, it feels direct, focused, intentional. Because this is not a time for comfort. This is a time for awakening. He is not asking for your attention, he is commanding your awareness. Because something has already shifted in your timeline. Something has already moved ahead of you. And if you continue at the same pace, with the same distractions, with the same hesitation, you will miss something that was meant to change everything for you. And that's why this feels intense. That's why this feels personal. That's why this doesn't feel like just another video. Because it's not. This is a spiritual interruption designed to pull you out of autopilot. To shake you out of delay. To confront the part of you that keeps saying tomorrow while destiny is screaming now. You've been patient. You've been waiting. You've been hoping things align on their own. But heaven is saying something different right now. You cannot afford to wait anymore. Not because you're running out of time, but because the moment that mattered most has already begun, and you are just now becoming aware of it. To feel this fully. This is not fear. This is not pressure. This is activation. You are not here to panic, you are here to wake up. Because what comes next will reveal exactly where you lost time and how to take it back before it's too late. And once you see it, truly see it, you will never move the same way again. Type "I am ready" now in the comments if you feel this urgency. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around your path. There is a reason your spirit feels unsettled right now, and it goes deeper than emotion, deeper than overthinking, deeper than anything you can explain with logic alone. What you are feeling is the weight of a warning that has already been released in the spiritual realm, and now it is finally reaching your awareness. Archangel Michael is not arriving in silence. He is not whispering gently in this moment. His presence carries a sharp clarity, a kind of divine urgency that does not allow you to remain passive any longer. Because what he is revealing to you now is something you cannot afford to misunderstand. He is showing you that delay has already cost you something, not in a way that should fill you with regret, but in a way that must awaken your attention. There were moments, specific moments, where you felt a pull to act. You felt it in your chest, in your thoughts, in that quiet knowing that said, "This matters. This is important. You not ignore this." But something distracted you. Something delayed you. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was doubt. Maybe it was comfort. Maybe it was simply the belief that you had more time. And so you waited. You paused. You told yourself you would come back to it. But Michael is revealing something that changes everything. Those moments were not random. They were aligned. They were timed. They were openings that were specifically designed for you to move through. And when you hesitated, when you delayed, when you chose later instead of now, something shifted. The opportunity did not disappear completely, but it moved. It adjusted. It continued forward without your immediate alignment. And now you are feeling the effect of that shift. That feeling of being slightly out of place, slightly out of sync, slightly behind where you know you are meant to be. That is not imagination. That is not insecurity. That is awareness catching up to reality. And Michael is not showing you this to make you feel guilty. He is showing you this because you are still in a position to correct it, but only if you move differently from this moment forward. His voice carries authority as he speaks this truth into your spirit. He says that what is coming next will require precision, not hesitation. It will require clarity, not confusion. And it will require immediate response, not delayed reaction. Because the next window that opens for you will not linger the way the last one did. It will not wait for you to feel ready. It will not pause for your comfort. It will appear, and it will require you to recognize it instantly and move without questioning. This is why the warning feels intense. Because it is not about what you lost. It is about what you could still miss if you continue the same patterns. The same hesitation, the same second-guessing, the same habit of pushing things aside when they feel too important or too overwhelming. Michael is cutting through all of that right now. He is showing you that the cost of delay is not always obvious in the moment, but it becomes undeniable over time. And you are at that point now. You are at the point where you can feel the weight of time, not in a fearful way, but in a revealing way. You can sense that things are moving faster than before, that opportunities are not staying open as long, that decisions are becoming more immediate, more pressing, more defining. And this is not happening to overwhelm you. This is happening because you are being moved into a higher level of alignment, where delay is no longer an option. Michael stands as a protector, but also as a revealer of truth. And the truth he is bringing to you now is simple, but powerful. You cannot approach your next season with the same mindset that caused you to delay in the last one. You cannot carry hesitation into a moment that demands action. You cannot treat urgency like it is optional when it is actually essential. But there is something else he wants you to understand, something that shifts this from warning into empowerment. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. You are not outside of your purpose. You are simply being called to move with a different level of awareness than before. A warning is not the end. It is the correction. It is the moment where everything becomes clear enough for you to choose differently. And that is why you are hearing this now, not earlier, not later, but exactly at the point where your awareness is ready to receive it and your spirit is ready to respond. So do not shrink from this message. Do not try to soften it or explain it away. Let it land exactly as it is meant to. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it shift your posture. Let it wake up the part of you that knows you are meant for more than delay, more than hesitation, more than waiting for the perfect moment. Because the truth is, the perfect moment does not wait. It appears, and it moves. And from this point forward, you must be ready to move with it. Type "I move without delay" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2020 is now activated around your decisions. Here is something you need to face now, and it may feel uncomfortable at first, but it will bring you clarity you have been missing for far too long. The delay you experienced was not just about time passing. It was not just about procrastination or distraction in the usual sense. It was deeper than that. It was a hidden delay, one that did not announce itself loudly, one that did not look dangerous on the surface, but one that quietly shifted the course of your path without you fully realizing it. You see, the most impactful delays are not the obvious ones. They are not the moments where everything falls apart dramatically. They are the subtle pauses, the quiet hesitations, the small decisions to wait, to postpone, to think about it a little longer. Those are the moments that seem harmless. Those are the moments that feel safe. But those are also the moments where alignment begins to slip. And this is what happened to you. There was a point where something was presented to you, not necessarily physically, but internally. A realization, a nudge, a sense that you needed to shift something, change something, step into something unfamiliar. It did not come with full clarity. It did not come with complete instructions. It came as a feeling, a knowing, something that did not make complete sense yet but carried weight. And instead of moving with it, you paused. You told yourself you needed more certainty. You told yourself you needed more clarity. You told yourself you needed the right timing. But what you did not realize in that moment was that the timing had already arrived. The clarity you were waiting for was not meant to come before the action. It was meant to come after you move it. This is where the hidden delay began. Because while you were waiting for confirmation, the moment itself was moving forward. While you were trying to feel ready, the opportunity was already shifting into its next phase. And without realizing it, you stepped slightly out of alignment with something that was meant to carry you forward. Archangel Michael reveals this not to accuse you, but to awaken you. He shows you that the delay was not a failure, but it was a divergence, a small deviation from the path that created a ripple effect. And that ripple effect is what you are feeling now, as a sense of distance between where you are and where you feel you should be. This is why things have felt slower. This is why certain doors have not opened the way you expected. This is why some progress feels delayed, even though you have been trying. Because the original flow was interrupted by hesitation. But here is where the truth becomes empowering instead of heavy. The delay changes something, yes, but it did not destroy anything. What was meant for you has not been taken away. It has not been canceled. It has not been reassigned. It has simply moved forward into a different position, one that now requires a different level of awareness from you to reconnect with it. And this is why you are here now. Because this moment is not random. This is a correction point. This is where you become conscious of what happened, not so you can dwell on it, but so you can move differently from here on. Michael is showing you that the next step will not come the same way the last one did. It will not wait for you to feel completely ready. It will not come wrapped in certainty. It will come in a similar form, subtle, quiet, easy to overlook if you are not paying attention. And this time, you must not repeat the same response. You must not pause in the same way. You must not delay in the same way. Because now you know what delay actually does. You know it does not just postpone outcomes. It shifts alignment. You know it does not just slow things down. It changes the flow. And now, with that awareness, you are being given a chance to step back into alignment, not by going backward, but by moving forward with clarity and immediacy. This is the turning point. This is where you stop treating those inner nudges as optional. This is where you stop waiting for perfect conditions. This is where you begin to trust that when something feels important, it is because it is aligned, not because it is convenient. And this is where everything begins to shift again. Because once you recognize the hidden delay, you stop repeating it. Once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. And once you choose to move differently, the path begins to correct itself. Not instantly, not magically, but intentionally. Step by step, decision by decision, moment by moment. And that is what will bring you back into alignment faster than anything else. Type "I choose alignment" now in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 3030 is now activated around your path. As this revelation settles into your spirit, understand this. Every moment of alignment you step into does not just change your life. It becomes a light for someone else who is still lost in delay. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or PayPal, you are not supporting a message. You are igniting awakening in souls who are still waiting for their moment of clarity. The word says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and this is not a distant promise. It is a living declaration over your obedience right now. I feel the pull in my spirit to say this clearly. When you act in faith, heaven responds in multiplication. Your giving becomes a seed that breaks delay, not only for others, but for you. This is your moment to move, not just in hearing, but in action. Release your support through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, and step into this divine flow without hesitation. There is something you must understand now, something that will shift the way you see everything from this moment forward. The reason you feel out of sync is not because time has betrayed you. It is not because life has treated you unfairly. It is because the clock you have been following is not the same clock that has been guiding your purpose. And until you recognize this difference, you will continue to feel like you are moving, yet not truly progressing. You have been measuring your life by visible time. Days, weeks, months, the passing of events, the comparison of where you are versus where others seem to be. You have been watching the external clock, assuming that as long as time is moving forward, you are moving forward with it. But what Archangel Michael is revealing to you now is that there is another clock, a spiritual clock, one that does not operate on minutes and hours, but on alignment and response. And right now, that clock is not where you think it is. There were moments when your spiritual clock accelerated, moments where everything was aligned for you to move quickly, decisively, without hesitation. Those were the moments when time was not slowing you down. It was actually working in your favor, compressing opportunities, aligning outcomes, opening doors faster than usual. But because you were still operating on your own sense of timing, because you were waiting for what felt comfortable or logical, you missed the acceleration that was available to you. This is what created the gap you feel now. Because while your physical time continued as normal, your spiritual time experienced a pause. Not because it stopped, but because your alignment with it slowed down. And now, as you are becoming aware again, you are noticing the distance between where you are and where that alignment could have taken you. This is why things have felt strange. Moments where you felt like you were doing everything right, yet nothing was moving. Periods where you felt motivated, yet progress seemed delayed. Situations where you expected results, but instead encountered resistance. It is not because you were wrong. It is because you were slightly out of sync with the timing that was meant to carry you forward. Archangel Michael is showing you that the spiritual clock does not wait in the same way human time does. When alignment is present, things move quickly. When alignment is missed, things do not stop, but they require recalibration. And that recalibration is what you are experiencing now. But here is the truth that changes everything. You are not disconnected from the spiritual clock. You are being brought back into awareness of it. And this is where your power returns. Because once you recognize that your timing must align with something higher than your comfort, your logic, or your pace, you begin to move differently. You begin to respond instead of delay. You begin to act when something feels aligned, even if it does not feel easy. You begin to trust that when something appears with urgency, it is not pressure, it is positioning. Michael is calling you into that awareness now. He is showing you that the next phase of your life will not operate on hesitation. It will not allow you to drift casually through decisions. It will require you to be alert, to be present, to recognize when something is meant for you in the moment it appears. Because the next opportunity will not feel like the last one. It will not come with repeated chances. It will come once, clearly, and it will require immediate alignment. This is why you must adjust now, not later, not gradually. Now, you must stop measuring your readiness by how you feel and start measuring it by what you recognize. If something aligns deeply within you, if something carries that same quiet weight you have felt before, you must move with it. Because that is how the spiritual clock communicates with you. Not through loud announcements, not through perfect clarity, but through moments that feel significant before they are fully understood. And this time, you cannot afford to overlook those moments, because now you know what happens when you do. You know that delay creates distance. You know that hesitation shifts alignment. And you know that waiting for perfect timing often means missing divine timing. But now, something is changing. Your awareness is sharpening. Your sensitivity is returning. Your ability to recognize alignment is becoming clearer. And this is not happening randomly. This is happening because you are being prepared to move differently, to respond faster, to trust deeper, to align immediately when the moment presents itself. The spiritual clock has not abandoned you. It hath been waiting for you to become aware of it again. And now that you are, everything can begin to realign. But only if you choose to move with it. Only if you choose to stop delaying what you already know matters. Only if you choose to act when the moment calls you instead of questioning it into silence. Because from this point forward, the difference between delay and alignment will define everything that happens next. And now, you are no longer unaware. Type "I align with divine timing" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4040 is now activated around your path. There is a pattern you must see clearly now, because until you recognize it, you will continue to fall into it without even realizing it. What has been working against you has not been obvious. It has not come in the form of direct opposition or visible resistance. It has not appeared as something you could easily identify and reject. Instead, it has been subtle, quiet, and carefully disguised as normal life. And that is exactly why it has been effective. The strategy hath been distraction. Not the kind of distraction that completely pulls you away from everything, but the kind that keeps you just busy enough, just occupied enough, just comfortable enough to delay what truly matters. It is the kind of distraction that feels harmless, the kind that convinces you that you are still moving, still thinking, still progressing, when in reality, you are being slowly pulled away from alignment. Archangel Michael is revealing this now with precision, because this is where the real battle has been taking place. Not in obvious conflict, not in dramatic breakdowns, but in the quiet moments where your attention was redirected. Moments where you felt the nudge to act, but something else took your focus. Moments where you were about to step forward, but something small, something seemingly unimportant, interrupted your momentum. And over time, those interruptions added up. They created a pattern, a cycle where you were constantly almost moving forward, almost making the decision, almost stepping into alignment, but never fully committing in the moment it mattered. And that almost is where delay takes root. Because distraction does not need to stop you completely. It only needs to slow you down enough to miss the moment. Think about it. How many times have you felt the urge to do something important, something that felt significant, only to suddenly find yourself doing something else? Something easier. Something that required less focus. Something that could be justified as necessary or not a big deal. And by the time you returned to that original feeling, the urgency was gone. That is not accidental. That is strategy. Michael is making it clear that distraction is not random noise. It is targeted interference. It is designed to keep your attention scattered so that your alignment never fully locks in. Because once you are fully aligned, once your focus is clear and your response is immediate, things begin to move quickly. And that is exactly what the opposition does not want. So instead of stopping you, it delays you. Instead of blocking you, it diverts you. Instead of confronting you directly, it occupies you indirectly. And this is why it hath been so difficult to notice. Because nothing felt drastically wrong. Nothing felt like a major obstacle. It just felt like life. But now, you are seeing it differently. Now, you are recognizing that those small distractions were not as harmless as they seemed. They were pulling you away from moments that required your full attention. They were weakening your ability to respond quickly. They were conditioning you to delay without even realizing it. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because once you see the pattern, it loses its power. Once you recognize distraction for what it is, you stop treating it as something neutral. You stop allowing it to take priority over what you know matters. You begin to guard your attention differently. You begin to protect your focus with intention. Michael is calling you into that level of awareness now. He is showing you that your attention is not something to be given casually. It is something to be directed deliberately. Because where your attention goes, your alignment follows. And where your alignment goes, your outcomes are determined. This is why the next phase of your journey will require discipline in a way you may not have practiced before. Not discipline in the sense of restriction, but discipline in the sense of clarity. Knowing what deserves your attention and what does not. Recognizing when something is pulling you away from alignment instead of toward it. Choosing to stay present with what matters, even when something easier tries to take its place. Because the distractions will not suddenly disappear. They will still appear. They will still try to pull your focus. But now, you have the awareness to respond differently. Now you can see them for what they are. Now, you can choose not to engage. And that choice changes everything. Because the moment you stop feeding distraction, your alignment strengthens. Your focus sharpens. Your response becomes faster. And suddenly, the same moments that once slipped past you become clear, recognizable, and actionable. This is how you take back control of your timing. This is how you reconnect with the flow you felt you lost. Not by forcing outcomes, but by removing what was interfering with your attention. And this is why this section matters so deeply. Because if you can master your attention, you can master your alignment. And if you can master your alignment, you will not miss what comes next. Type "I reclaim my focus" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5050 is now activated around your mind and attention. Here is a moment you need to revisit now. Not physically, not to relive it with regret, but to finally see it clearly for what it was. Because that moment, the one you brushed past, the one you told yourself was not urgent, the one you quietly postponed, that was not an ordinary moment. That was a defining point, a precise intersection where your awareness, your opportunity, and your next step all came together at once. And you felt it. You may not have understood it fully at the time, but something in you recognized that it mattered. There was a weight to it, a sense that this was not something to casually ignore. It may have come as a decision you needed to make, a message you needed to respond to, a step you needed to take, or even something you needed to release. It was specific to you, personal, clear enough to feel but not loud enough to force you. And that is why it was missed, because it did not come with pressure from the outside. It did not come with someone pushing you. It came quietly, internally, requiring you to trust your own recognition of its importance. And in that moment, you hesitated. You questioned. You told yourself you needed more time, more clarity, more certainty. But the truth is, you already had enough. You had enough awareness to act. You had enough clarity to move. You had enough understanding to take the next step. But instead, you paused. And that pause is what shifted everything. Archangel Michael is not showing you this to condemn you. He is showing you this so you can finally understand the nature of that moment. Because it was not just about what you did or did not do. It was about how you responded to alignment when it appeared. You treated it like it could wait. You treated it like it would come back in the same way. You treated it like it was optional. But it was none of those things. It was a window. And windows do not remain open indefinitely. They appear, they invite, and then they move. And when they move, they do not disappear completely, but they change form. They shift position. They require a different level of awareness to recognize again. And that is why things have felt different since then. Because you have been trying to reconnect with something that has already moved forward. You have been trying to feel the same clarity again, but it has not returned in the same way. You have been waiting for that same sense of certainty, but it has not come back as strongly. And this has created confusion. It has made you question yourself. It has made you wonder if you imagined it. But you did not imagine it. You experienced it. And now you are being shown what it truly was. A moment of alignment that required immediate response. This is why this section is so important. Because until you recognize that moment for what it was, you will continue to treat future moments the same way. You will continue to hesitate when you should act. You will continue to delay when you should move. You will continue to question when you should trust. But now, something changes. Now, you can see that the feeling you had in that moment was not random. It was not emotional. It was not something to analyze endlessly. It was a signal. A clear, direct signal that it was time to move. And this is the awareness you must carry forward. Because another moment like that will come. Not exactly the same, but similar in its weight, its quiet urgency, its internal clarity. And when it comes, you will recognize it faster. You will feel it more clearly. And this time, you must not pause in the same way. You must not overthink it into delay. You must not wait for it to become louder or more obvious, because the nature of these moments is that they are clear enough to act, but subtle enough to miss. And now you know that. Now you understand that waiting for perfect certainty is what caused the delay in the first place. Now you see that action creates clarity, not the other way around. And this is what will allow you to move differently next time. Because there will be a next time. That is what Archangel Michael is making clear. You have not missed everything. You have not lost your path. You have not been removed from your purpose. You have simply experienced a moment that taught you how important immediate alignment truly is. And now, you are ready to respond differently. Not perfectly, but consciously. Not fearfully, but decisively. Not with hesitation, but with awareness. And that is what will realign you faster than anything else. Because the next moment will not wait for you to figure it out slowly. It will require you to recognize it instantly and move. And now, you are no longer unaware of what that requires. Type IACT when IT matters in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6060 is now activated around your decisions. There is a truth you must confront now, not to create fear within you, but to bring clarity so strong that you can no longer ignore what is at stake. Because up until this point, delay has felt manageable. It has felt like something you could recover from later. It has felt like something that did not carry immediate consequences. But what Archangel Michael is revealing now is that continued delay does not remain neutral. It does not simply pause your progress. It begins to reshape your path in ways that become harder to correct over time. This is where the urgency comes from. Because every moment you recognize alignment and choose not to act, something subtle begins to shift. Not dramatically, not in a way that alarms you immediately, but gradually. The clarity you once felt begins to dull. The confidence you had in your direction begins to weaken. The sense of purpose that once felt strong begins to feel distant. And before you realize it, you are no longer just delayed. You are disconnected from the momentum that was meant to carry you forward. This is the true consequence of delay. It is not just about time being lost. It is about alignment becoming harder to access. You begin to second-guess what once felt clear. You begin to question what once felt certain. You begin to hesitate in moments where you should respond instantly. And this creates a cycle. A cycle where delay leads to doubt, and doubt leads to more delay. Archangel Michael is stepping into this cycle now to break it before it strengthens any further. Because if it continues unchecked, it does not just affect one decision. It begins to affect how you approach everything. You start to treat important moments as optional. You start to believe that urgency can always be postponed. You start to assume that there will always be another chance that looks exactly like the last one. But that is not how alignment works. Moments do return, but they do not return in the same form. Opportunities reappear, but they require a different level of awareness. And if your pattern of delay continues, you may not recognize them when they come again. This is why this warning is so direct. Because what is coming next in your life will not be as forgiving of hesitation as what you have experienced before. The pace is changing. The expectations are shifting. The level of awareness required from you is increasing. And that means the margin for delay is becoming smaller. This is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to prepare you. Because once you understand the true cost of delay, you begin to value your moments differently. You begin to see that every decision carries weight. You begin to recognize that acting in alignment is not just beneficial, it is necessary. Michael is showing you that the consequences are not punishment. They are natural outcomes of how alignment works. When you move with it, things open. When you hesitate against it, things slow. And when you repeatedly delay, the path becomes less clear, not because it has disappeared, but because your connection to it has weakened. But here is where the message shifts from warning into empowerment again. You are not at the point where this cycle has taken control. You are at the point where you can still break it completely. Right now. In this moment. Because awareness is the first step to correction. And you now have that awareness. You can see the pattern. You can feel the truth of it. You can recognize where delay has been affecting you. And that recognition gives you the ability to choose differently. This is where everything changes. Because the moment you decide that delay is no longer acceptable, the cycle begins to collapse. The doubt that was building loses its foundation. The hesitation that was forming loses its hold. And your ability to act begins to return, stronger than before. But this requires a decision. A real decision. Not one you make casually. Not one you postpone. Not one you leave open-ended. A decision that from this point forward, when you recognize alignment, you respond. You move. You act. Without waiting for the perfect feeling. Without searching for complete certainty. Without allowing distraction to take over. Because now you understand what is at stake. Not in a fearful sense, but in a clear and grounded way. You understand that your future is shaped by how you respond to your moments. And those moments are happening now. Not later. Not someday. Now. This is why the urgency is real. This is why the message is direct. This is why you cannot afford to return to the same pattern. Because what comes next will either be met with immediate alignment, or it will pass you by in the same way the last moment did. And now, you are fully aware of that choice. Type "I break the delay cycle" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7070 is now activated around your path forward. There is something you need to hear right now that will shift everything you've been feeling. Despite the delay, despite the hesitation, despite the moments you missed, the door is not fully closed. You are not standing outside with no access. You are not locked out of what was meant for you. The opportunity, the alignment, the path forward, it is still within reach. But you must understand this clearly. It is not standing still anymore. The door is still open, but it is moving. Archangel Michael is showing you this with precision, not to comfort you into passivity, but to awaken urgency within you. Because this is the moment where many people make a critical mistake. They hear that there is still time, and they relax. They assume that because the door is not fully closed, they can continue at the same pace, with the same hesitation, with the same patterns that caused the delay in the first place. But that is not what this moment is. This is not extra time. This is limited time. This is a narrowing window where your response must change if you are going to step through it. And the reason it feels intense is because you can sense that narrowing. You can feel that things are not as open as they once were. You can feel that decisions are becoming more immediate, more defining, more final. And that feeling is accurate. Because the door is no longer waiting for you to decide when you are ready. It is requiring you to meet it where it is now. This is where your awareness becomes critical. Because if you approach this moment with the same mindset that caused the delay, you will misread it again. You will assume there is more time than there actually is. You will believe you can revisit the decision later. You will treat the urgency as optional. And in doing so, you risk allowing the door to move beyond your reach. Michael is not saying this to create fear. He is saying this to sharpen your focus. Because when you understand that the door is still open but closing, you begin to act differently. You stop negotiating with delay. You stop entertaining hesitation. You stop giving your attention to things that do not matter in the moment. You begin to prioritize alignment. You begin to recognize that when something presents itself now, it must be taken seriously. It must be evaluated quickly. It must be responded to with clarity, not postponed with uncertainty. This is the shift that is required, because the next opportunity will not come as a loud announcement. It will come widely but with weight. It will feel similar to the moment you missed before, but this time, it will carry a stronger sense of urgency, and eager pull, a clearer signal that this is not something to delay. And when it comes, you will feel it. You will recognize it. But recognition alone will not be enough. You must act. This is the difference between the last moment and this one. Before, you recognized but did not act. Now, you must recognize and respond immediately, because the door will not remain in the same position. It is already shifting. It is already moving toward its next phase, and you are being given a final opportunity to align with it before it transitions completely. This is why everything in this message have been building to this point, to bring you into awareness, to break the pattern of delay, to sharpen your focus, so that when the moment appears again, you are not caught in hesitation. You are ready. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Not with complete certainty, but with enough clarity to move. And that is all that is required. Michael is standing at this threshold with you, not pushing you, not forcing you, but making it unmistakably clear what this moment represents. It is not the end, but it is the edge. The edge between continued delay and decisive action. The edge between missed alignment and restored momentum. The edge between waiting and moving. And now, you are standing at that edge with full awareness. What you do next will determine whether you step through the door or watch it move beyond you. And this time, you already know what delay leads to. So now, the choice is different. Now, the response must be different, because the door is still open. Whenever alone, type "I step through" now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8080 is now activated around your next move. As you stand at this threshold, understand this truth deeply. Every step you take in alignment does not just open doors for you. It becomes a pathway of light for someone else who is still lost in delay. When you give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting content. You are sowing into souls that are waiting for this exact awakening. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And this is not a distant promise. It is a living flow activated by your obedience. I feel this strongly as a call to action within you. This is your moment to move, not just spiritually, but practically. Your seed becomes a river that carries this message further than you can see. Release it now through the PayPal link or the QR code on your screen, and step into this divine exchange without delay. This is the moment where everything becomes clear, not just in awareness but in action. Up until now, you have been shown what happened, why it happened, and what is at stake if nothing changes. But now, Archangel Michael steps forward not just with warning but with direction. Because awareness without action will return you to the same cycle. Understanding without movement will keep you standing at the same threshold. And this is the point where you must move differently. The instructions are not complicated, but they are precise. And they must be followed now, not later. Not when you feel more prepared. Not when everything around you feels settled. And now, in the exact state you are in, with the awareness you currently have. Because waiting for a better moment is the pattern that caused the delay in the first place. And if you repeat that pattern here, you will miss the correction that has been placed directly in front of you. The first instruction is this: you must act on what you already know. There is something already within your awareness, something you have been thinking about, something you have been feeling, something you have been avoiding or postponing. It may not be fully defined, but it is present. You do not need more information to begin. You do not need complete certainty to take the first step. You already have enough clarity to move, and that is where your focus must go. Michael is making it clear that waiting for full understanding is not alignment. Action is what brings understanding into focus. When you move, things begin to reveal themselves. When you respond, clarity follows. But when you wait, everything remains unclear, and the cycle continues. The second instruction is this: remove what is dividing your attention. You cannot step into alignment while your focus is scattered. You cannot recognize what matters if your attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. This is where discipline becomes essential. Not discipline forced by pressure, but discipline chosen through clarity. You must begin to notice what is taking your attention away from what you know is important, and you must make a conscious decision to step away from it. This may not feel comfortable at first. It may feel unfamiliar, but it is necessary, because your attention is the gateway to your alignment, and if that gateway is open to everything, it cannot fully support what matters most. The third instruction is this: respond immediately when the next moment presents itself. This is where everything comes together, because the next moment will come. It will not look exactly the same as the last one, but it will carry the same weight, the same internal signal, the same quiet urgency. And when it appears, you must not pause in the same way. You must not return to overthinking. You must not delay for the sake of comfort. You must respond, even if the step feels small, even if it feels uncertain, even if it feels incomplete. Because alignment is not built on perfect action. It is built on immediate response. Michael is emphasizing this because this is where your path begins to correct itself. Not through one large decision, but through a series of immediate, aligned responses that reconnect you with the flow you felt you lost. And there is one more instruction that must not be ignored. You must trust what you recognize. Not blindly, not without awareness, but with the understanding that your ability to recognize alignment has already been restored. You are not in the same place you were before. You are more aware now, more attentive, more sensitive to what matters, and that means you are capable of responding differently. But trust is required. Trust that when something feels significant, it is not something to dismiss. Trust that when something calls for your attention, it is not something to delay. Trust that you do not need to understand everything in order to begin. Because the moment you trust your recognition, your hesitation loses its hold. Your delay loses its justification, and your ability to move becomes natural again. This is the shift. This is where everything begins to realign. Not through waiting, not through hoping, but through action. Simple, immediate, intentional action. And as you begin to follow these instructions, you will notice something change. Your clarity will sharpen. Your focus will strengthen. Your decisions will become faster and more certain. Not because everything becomes easier, but because you are no longer dividing your awareness between action and delay. You are choosing alignment, and that choice, repeated consistently, is what will bring you back into the flow that has been waiting for you. The door is still there. The moment is still active. The opportunity is still within reach. But now, it requires movement. And now, you have been given exactly what you need to begin. Type "I move in obedience" now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9090 is now activated around your actions. There is a shift happening around you right now that you may not have fully understood until this moment. It has felt subtle at times, almost unnoticeable, and at other times it has felt uncomfortable, even unsettling. Certain people feel different. Certain environments no longer feel the same. Certain patterns that once felt normal now feel heavy, misaligned, or simply out of place. And you may have questioned it. You may have wondered if it was just your mood, your perception, or your imagination. But what Archangel Michael is revealing now is that this is not random. The separation has already begun. This is not a future event. This is not something that will happen later. It is already in motion. And the reason it feels confusing is because it is not happening in a loud or dramatic way. It is happening quietly, internally, and progressively. It is happening in your awareness first, before it becomes fully visible in your external world. You are starting to see things differently. You are starting to feel the difference between what aligns with you and what does not. You are starting to recognize that certain conversations drain you instead of support you. That certain habits keep you in the same place instead of moving you forward. That certain environments no longer match the direction you are being pulled toward. And this realization is the beginning of separation. But here is where many people misunderstand this phase. They think separation is loss. They think it means something is being taken away from them. They think it is something negative, something to resist, something to hold on to and avoid. But that is not what this is. This is repositioning. Archangel Michael is making it clear that you cannot move into alignment while still holding on to what is misaligned. You cannot step into a new level while remaining fully connected to the patterns of the previous one. And this is why separation is necessary. Not to isolate you, but to realign you. Not to remove what you need, but to remove what interferes. Not to create emptiness, but to create space. Because without space, nothing new can fully enter. And this is the stage you are in now. Things are being shifted around you. Not all at once, not in a way that forces you to react immediately, but in a way that allows you to become aware of what no longer belongs in your next phase. This is why certain interactions feel different. This is why certain routines no longer feel right. This is why you may feel a pull to step back, to create distance, to change how you engage with certain things. That is not confusion. That is clarity emerging. But here is the part that requires your awareness. Separation will not complete itself if you resist it. If you try to hold on to what is already shifting away, you will create tension. If you try to force things to remain the same, you will feel resistance. If you ignore what you are clearly sensing, you will delay the process again. This is why your response matters now. You do not need to force separation. You do not need to cut everything off abruptly. But you must acknowledge what is already happening. You must allow yourself to step back where necessary. You must give yourself permission to outgrow what no longer aligns. Because growth always changes connection. It always shifts how you relate to people, environments, and patterns. And if you try to maintain everything exactly as it was, you will hold yourself in the same place. Michael is guiding you through this phase with precision. He is not asking you to isolate yourself. He is not asking you to reject everything around you. He is asking you to become aware of what supports your alignment and what does not. And once you see that clearly, you must begin to move accordingly. Because the separation is not the end. It is the preparation. It is the clearing of space before the next level of alignment fully opens. And this is why it may feel uncomfortable. Because you are in between. You are no longer fully connected to the old, but not yet fully established in the new. And that space can feel uncertain. But it is also where clarity strengthens. It is where your awareness deepens. It is where your ability to recognize alignment becomes sharper than ever before. And this is exactly where you need to be right now. Not rushing to fill the space. Not running back to what feels familiar. But staying present long enough to allow the realignment to complete. Because once it does, everything that enters your life next will match the level you are stepping into, not the level you are leaving behind. And that is why this phase matters so much. Because what you allow now will determine what aligns with you next. So do not resist what is shifting. Do not question what you are clearly sensing. Do not return to what you have already outgrown. Because the separation is not taking something from you. It is making room for what was always meant to reach you. And now you are aware of it. Type "I allow what no longer aligns" to leave in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around your transitions. There is a moment that follows obedience that most people never experience, not because it is rare, but because they never reach the point of action required to activate it. And that is what Archangel Michael is revealing to you now. Because everything you have heard up to this point has been preparing you for a single truth that changes everything. The shift you have been waiting for does not come before you move. It comes the moment you do. This is where everything begins to accelerate. Not gradually, not slowly, but immediately. Because alignment does not respond to hesitation, it responds to action. And the moment you act on what you already know, the moment you follow the instruction without delay, something shifts internally first, and then externally begins to follow. The first shift is clarity. The confusion you have been feeling, the overthinking, the constant questioning, it begins to dissolve. Not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you are no longer divided between action and delay. You are no longer standing between two choices. You have chosen to move, and that decision alone clears more mental resistance than you realize. You begin to see things more simply. What once felt complicated begins to feel direct. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable. And this clarity is not something you create. It is something that is released when you step into alignment. The second shift is momentum. Up until now, things have felt slow, almost resisted at times. You may have felt like you were putting in effort without seeing movement. But the moment you act in alignment, that resistance begins to break. Not completely all at once, but enough for you to feel the difference. Things begin to move. Small changes start to appear. Opportunities begin to connect. Conversations begin to shift. And what felt stuck begins to show signs of movement again. This is not coincidence. This is alignment reactivating the flow that was paused. The third shift is confidence. Not the kind that comes from external validation, but the kind that comes from within. The kind that grows when you prove to yourself that you can act when it matters. The kind that strengthens every time you respond instead of delay. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to rely on your ability to recognize what matters. You begin to move without needing constant reassurance. And this confidence becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Because once you trust your ability to act, hesitation loses its hold on you. But there is something even deeper that happens. Something that goes beyond clarity, beyond momentum, beyond confidence. Your alignment strengthens. And when your alignment strengthens, your path becomes more direct. You no longer feel like you are guessing your way forward. You no longer feel like you are constantly trying to figure things out. Instead, you begin to feel guided. Not in a way that removes responsibility, but in a way that supports your movement. You begin to recognize moments faster. You begin to respond without overthinking. You begin to move with a sense of certainty that does not come from knowing everything, but from trusting the process. This is the shift you have been waiting for. But it has always been waiting for you. Archangel Michael is making this unmistakably clear now. The change you are seeking is not on the other side of waiting. It is on the other side of action. And the moment you step into that action, everything begins to reorganize around your decision. Because alignment is not passive. It is responsive. It responds to your movement. It responds to your willingness to act. It responds to your decision to break the pattern of delay. And once that response is activated, it does not stop immediately. It continues to build. It continues to expand. It continues to open pathways that were not visible before. This is why obedience matters so much in this moment. Not in a rigid or forced sense, but in a conscious and intentional way. Because what you do next is not just a single action. It is the beginning of a new pattern. A pattern of immediate response. A pattern of aligned movement. A pattern of trusting what you recognize and acting on it without delay. And this pattern is what will carry you forward. Faster, clearer, stronger than anything you have experienced before. But it begins with a single decision, a single action, a single moment where you choose to move instead of wait. And once you do, you will feel it. The shift will not be something you have to question. It will be something you experience directly. And from that point forward, you will never look at your moments the same way again. Because you will understand, fully and completely, that everything changes the moment you choose to obey. Type "I step into the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around your transformation. This is the moment everything hath been leading to. Not another explanation. Not another warning. Not another opportunity to delay. This is the point of decision. Because now, you are no longer unaware. You are no longer questioning what is happening. You are no longer guessing why things have felt the way they have felt. Everything has been revealed to you in layers, step by step, not to overwhelm you, but to bring you here, to this exact moment where you must choose. And the truth is simple, even if it feels intense. You either move now or you miss this window. There is no middle ground anymore. Archangel Michael stands with clarity that does not soften itself for comfort. His presence is not here to negotiate with hesitation. He is here to confront it. Because what is in front of you right now is not just another moment you can revisit later. This is not something you can casually return to when it feels easier. This is not a cycle that will repeat itself in the same way again. This is a closing threshold. And you can feel it. You can feel that this moment carries more weight than the others. You can feel that something is final about it. Not in a way that removes your future, but in a way that defines it. Because what you do now will determine the direction you move in from this point forward. If you choose delay again, the pattern continues. If you choose hesitation again, the distance increases. If you choose to wait again, the door will move beyond where you can easily reach it. But if you choose now, everything shifts. Not later. Not gradually. Now. Because this is the moment where your awareness must become action. This is where everything you have realized must turn into movement. This is where you stop observing your path and step fully into it. And this is why it feels urgent. Not because something is chasing you, but because something is moving ahead of you. Something that was meant for you is continuing forward, and this is your final opportunity to align with it before it transitions into its next phase without you. Michael's voice carries this final truth with absolute clarity. You have already seen what delay does. You have already felt the distance it creates. You have already experienced the hesitation that held you back. So now, you cannot pretend you do not know. Now, you cannot say you were not aware. Now, you cannot return to the same pattern without understanding the cost. This is why the choice is so clear. You either step forward, or you stay behind. And staying behind is not just staying in place. It is allowing everything meant for your movement to continue without your alignment. But stepping forward changes everything. Because the moment you decide, fully and without hesitation, that you will move, something locks in within you. A level of clarity you have not felt before. A sense of direction that does not require constant questioning. A stability in your decisions that comes from knowing you are no longer delaying what matters. And from that moment on, everything begins to follow that decision. Your actions align. Your focus sharpens. Your path begins to open in ways that felt blocked before. Not because something external suddenly changed, but because you did. Because you finally chose. This is the final call. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Just real. You have reached the point where awareness is no longer enough. You must act. You must decide. You must move. Now. Because this window will not remain where it is. And you already know what happens when you wait. So this time, do not wait. This time, do not hesitate. This time, do not question what you already understand. Step forward. Fully. Decisively. Without looking back at the version of you that kept delaying. Because that version of you cannot enter what is next. Only this version can. The one who sees clearly. The one who understands the moment. The one who is ready to move. And now, that is who you are. Type "I choose now" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated around your destiny. As you step into this final moment of decision, understand this deeply. Every seed you release into this mission becomes a flame that reaches someone standing in darkness. Someone who is seconds away from missing their own divine window. The word speaks living truth over you right now. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days, and this is not distant scripture. It is God speaking directly into your obedience in this very moment. I feel this rising strongly within. I am not giving to a message. I am releasing light into lives I may never see, but heaven sees them. Your giving becomes oil that keeps this fire burning, a river that carries awakening to souls who are still lost in delay. Do not treat this as optional. Treat this as prophetic action. Move now through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, and seal this moment with obedience.